Blake with the Three Hand Hunter channel. Thanks for joining me today. Now, before I get into this very, very cool microbrand watch, let me ask you this. Do you think blackout watches or stealth watches, do you think they're cool? My opinion? Heck yeah, they're cool. Take a look at this thing. How awesome is that? I'll tell you, when I wear this out and about in the wild and people see it, they look probably at my wrist and they probably are thinking, oh, look, it's an iWatch. And then they get a little closer and they're like, wow, that's a black watch. And then they get a little closer and they're like, wow, that's unique. I've gotten a lot of comments on this particular watch because of it being a stealth blackout watch. It is really awesome, except when you wear it at night. But during the day, man, this watch is awesome. So I want to tell you all about this RZE. It's an extremely rare piece, but before I do so, I'm going to mention a couple of things. If you like this type of content, you like to see videos of watches that you're not going to see all the time, I bring some pretty rare pieces on this channel from time to time. Subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. And also, if you like the content, please hit the like, smash that like button, as they say. I'd appreciate that as well. It just helps me grow the channel. And thank you for spending your time with me. Now, also, I wanted to say that this watch, you know, it is rather unique. It's only one of 50. There's only 50 of these in the world, and they're called the RZE Endeavor Workbench Edition. I like to call it the blackout or the stealth watch. And it's not my first experience with a stealth watch. Years ago, I bought a titanium piece that happened to be titanium as well. And so is this watch, matter of fact, which I'll talk about extensively here in a second. But the watch that I purchased was a Hampton watch out of the UK. And I couldn't see the hands, so I actually had the hands replaced. And when I sold the watch, I actually sold it with the original hands as well. And then this one came along and I had to try it again. And what I found with these blackout watches is they are very cool to wear. You do want to wear them during the day. At night, obviously, I switch out to something like a Seiko SKX, and that tends to work a little bit better with lume. Happen to be a lume junkie. I'll talk about the lume here on this watch as well. But it's a really unique watch because it's so rare. There's only so many examples out in the world. But this watch in particular is built really well. Let me talk a little bit about RZE, or what was originally called RZE watches. So the owner, Travis Tan, from what I understand, used to be with the other microbrand company out of Singapore, Malaysia, called Boulder. And I'm not sure what the story is behind the two of them, but I know Travis started RZE, and they've released several models that are quite popular with the watch enthusiast community. They have the Resolute, which they just recently did an updated version of the Resolute. They have the Endeavor, which is this, the Fortitude, and the Valor. The Valor, I think, is the chronograph Mecha Quartz watch, which I'm not a huge fan of Mecha Quartz watches, but I think they're cool in their own right, and I think a lot of people really enjoy them. But for me, I tend to prefer a mechanical timepiece. However, the reason why this one in particular jumped out, as I've seen so many reviews on the Endeavors, is that it is a dive watch, which I'm a fan of a dive watch, but also because of its rarity, of there only being 50 of these. Now, this one in particular, it actually still has the case back sticker on, which is pretty cool. And I left it there because you never know. I mean, it, first of all, protects the back of the watch, but somebody might actually want to pull that off sometimes. I know some people really enjoy that specifically. But I want to talk a little bit about this watch in particular, just because I think they did a really good job with it. There's so many reviews on the RZE Endeavor watches, but the one thing that stands out for this particular microbrand, they use an NH38A, which is the non-date version of the NH movement, which is nice. So there's no ghost date position. This watch in particular, I just want to tell you the dimensions. It's 40.5 from diameter, 40.5. Although if you take a look at the profile of the watch, you'll notice that actually that bezel is pretty close to these bump outs that you see right here. So depending on where you measure the watch from, it wears more like a 40. As a matter of fact, I'd even venture to say it wears a lot less than a 40, more like a 39. And I think the reason why it is because it is so light. This is a titanium watch, which is really cool. The lug to lug distance that you see right here is 46 millimeters, 20 millimeter lug width, and it actually, the bracelet tapers down to a beautiful 16 millimeter. Now, the reason why that is so cool is because these watches on bracelet are so comfortable. And I'm not a person that wears bracelets on my watches that often, but this watch really disappears on the wrist. The bracelet is really done well. You'll notice that every link has a screw pin in it, which is really nice. So, you know, because it tapers, obviously if I was to pull out some of these links to adjust this, I would adjust it over at the bottom because that's where the taper really stops. But overall, this watch really just disappears on the wrist. I'm gonna show you how it really disappears on the wrist because I'm gonna show you how much it weighs. So give me 1 second. Let me adjust the scale here. Okay, it's in pounds, so let me get over to grams. And in grams, with the bracelet, sized to a 7¼ inch wrist, it's 100 grams. I mean, a lot of watch heads that you might have, like a Seiko SKX or something like that, is gonna weigh more than that, than this watch with its bracelet on. So it really disappears on the wrist. And that's what makes it so comfortable and so unique. Now, this watch, like I said, it is in titanium. This titanium is covered with ultra hex coating, okay, which gives it that extra hardness. And also you can see this watch is DLC or diamond-like coating or a carbon coating material. So it is extremely durable. And it's gonna hold this kind of like if you've ever owned a Damasco, I've had a couple of Damascos in DLC over the years. It's gonna be that similar type of coating and it's gonna be extremely hard. But look at the way the case is designed. What a unique case shape. You know, the one thing I love about micro brands that aren't trying to be like anybody else, kind of like the RZE, these watches are unique in design. And I love that about this particular watch. This has a lot of Seiko Samurai inspiration, but without the bulk and the heft of the Seiko Samurai. Like I said, this watch wears like a sub 40 millimeter watch, probably because of how light it is, and maybe because this one in particular is black and it has that slimming effect, if you will. But I want to show you something else that makes this watch really stand out. If you notice the dial, how beautiful it is, the raised indices. Now there is BG, I believe, no, I'm sorry, it's C3 Superluminova as far as the lume goes, but because it's blacked out, the lume does not hold a charge too long. And that's something that you have to think about when you have a blacked out type of watch because they tint over the indices, okay? But you can see the raised indices and how beautiful it is. Now, I also wanted to show you the bezel action because I have another titanium watch that I'm going to compare with the RZE right next to me here in a second. But I want you guys to listen to this bezel action. For a titanium watch, this is one of the best bezel actions I've ever felt. It is very positive. There's no back play whatsoever, and you can hear those positive clicks. Listen again. No back play. This bezel is awesome. Now let me show you something that's a little different. So this is a Meritech LSA. You guys can see that. Excuse the focus. Now listen to the difference in the bezel. Can you guys even hear that? It's so light. It's not as positive of a feel. You can see there's some back play there. And that's typical of titanium. When you have a titanium watch with a titanium bezel, usually the bezel action just is kind of lackluster. It's just not that great like this Meritech. But this RZE, the bezel action is spectacular. And it has a screw down crown. It's a great watch. Well, let's talk about this crown action. So when you pop out the crown and then you go to adjust the time, I love it when I have a crown that's so easy to manipulate. So you barely turn it and you can see that the minute hand just fly around the dial. It's so easy to manipulate and change the time. And like I said, no ghost date position. So that hacks the movement. Push in the crown, movement starts again, and then it's got really nice screw down crown. I always back up one half turn to make sure it threads nice so I don't strip those threads. And then there you go. This watch is pretty darn cool. I wanted to show you what the watch also came with, just so you had a good understanding of that if you've never watched a review on these RZE watches. But as you can see right here, comes with the box, nice little carry pouch with, well, this is, sorry, that's the extra link there with a tool, and also the card that comes from RZE, and then you can scan the QR code there to get some more information on the particular watch. But I wanted to show you this watch because it's super special. It's not one that you're going to see every day, and I think it's one that's worth taking a look at. And one of the other things is this watch is a fairly new release. I'm filming first few months of 2022. You know, by the time you watch this, these watches are going to become more and more rare as time goes on. So if you find one and you like the RZE and you like the blackout edition, I'm going to pull off my SKX here, then I would say this is a really, really unique piece that deserves your attention. So let me go ahead and put it on the wrist. Oh, I want to show you just the bracelet really quick. Locking fold over clasp. It's not anything super special, but it's very secure. Let me, very secure, nice fold over clasp. Like I said, it tapers from 20 millimeter to 16, which gives it this beautiful wear that it just disappears on your wrist, and it's so light. And that's on a 7¼ inch wrist. And obviously you guys have seen some other images of me with wearing this watch on my wrist, and you can see just how beautiful it is on the wrist. So if you've made it this far, let me introduce myself. My name is Blake. I would consider myself a bit of a watchaholic. And if you've made it this far, well, I think you might qualify as a watchaholic as well. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.